Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. Sarah and her husband had been trying to get pregnant for 2 years before I met them. They had done a series of medicated cycles, 5 IUIs, all without success, and they were feeling really overwhelmed and frustrated that they weren't getting any answers. Before taking what her doctors were telling her was the next step of IVF, she wanted to explore other options, and I am so glad they did. Right after graduating the Master Your Fertility program, she got her BFP and is currently in her 3rd trimester with her baby girl. Keep listening to hear Sarah's story. Today we're chatting with Sarah, who is one of my Master Your Fertility program grads. She's here to share her experience of working with me in that program. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, I'd love to start by just having you share a little bit about what your fertility journey was like before we met.
Okay, so we started trying in probably early 2022 on our own, and we were not having much luck. So in early 2023, we started seeing a local OB where we live. She ran some pretty basic tests and everything was coming back normal as far as she could tell. She did put me on a daily progesterone that I'm not sure, I don't remember testing for that, but eventually I kind of stopped ovulating. And once I realized that, I started at a fertility clinic just to do a little more extensive testing. And they did like the HSG, they tested my egg health, they tested my husband's sperm. Everything was coming back normally, or normally as far as they were saying, but it still wasn't we still weren't getting pregnant. So we kind of started with timed intercourse, and then they were pairing that with letrozole sometimes, and then sometimes letrozole and trigger shot. We did that for quite a few cycles. I can't remember how many. But then they suggested trying IUIs. So we moved on to the IUIs. We bought like a 3-pack. We were very hopeful for that. So we did those 3 and also paired with letrozole and a trigger shot. The first 3 were unsuccessful. So this had been probably going on 6 to 9 months with the clinic. So then we bought another 3 rounds of IUIs and continued those. We got through 2 of them. So at this point, I had been on some form of letrozole and trigger shot for most of the year. And I was just starting to feel really low. I could tell that I was not in a good place mentally and physically. We were just kind of disappointed because all of the tests were coming back saying there's nothing wrong, there's no reason you shouldn't get pregnant. But then it wasn't happening with all of their support. So after the 5th IUI, before moving into the 6th one, I kind of hit a wall and just told the clinic I needed a break. And they were very receptive. They understood, being on the medications for that long. I think they probably had seen other people feeling the way I was feeling. So, and then I learned about you and your practice through a girlfriend. She told me she was going to sign up, and so we talked a little bit about it and I signed up. And then I started with you. So I think I was with the fertility clinic from early 2023 to very beginning of 2024. And then around that time is when I started talking to you. I think it was February or March that we had like the first call, something like that. And then started the protocol, and I took that very seriously. I worked hard to implement all the changes that you suggested dietary supplement and lifestyle, and then had stopped all the medications too. And then within 3 to 4 cycles of trying, we got pregnant naturally. So now I'm 30, going on 31 weeks pregnant, and we're expecting a girl. So we're very excited.
Yay! Yeah, very, very excited for you. So, lots of medication and trying various things as far as IUIs and timed intercourse and things go before reaching out. How do you think working with me differed from working with some of your other providers?
You took an approach to my overall health. I think a lot of them just were quick to suggest. I don't remember if the first doctor even tested my progesterone, but just put me on a daily progesterone pill, which was interesting. I think that is what caused me to stop ovulating. But yeah, what you did differently was take a look at like what's happening inside my body and how things were absorbed and how best to support that, and making sure I was getting the right nutrients, because what I thought I was eating before with like the when I was at the fertility clinic or the regular OB was definitely not what I should be getting to support my body. So I found that very interesting, and it was obviously very helpful.
Yeah, definitely a deeper dive. I mean, I see fertility as something that's impacted by all parts of our health for sure. So, what's going on in other parts, especially like things like the gut,
Mm-hmm.
can definitely make a difference. I know we did gut testing with you, and you kind of had like a hunch or a feeling that gut concerns or just what was happening with your gut health as a whole might be contributing to fertility. Do you feel like you noticed some changes in your gut health throughout our time together?
Yeah, I definitely, and that's a good point. I kind of forgot. I'm sure this had something to do with it, but I had taken an antibiotic at a certain point when we were trying. So my gut may have been out of whack from that. But one thing that you pointed out to me after getting those results, I have had a sweet tooth for a very, very long time. And what we found is there was an overgrowth of candida in my gut. And I thought it was really interesting once we started tackling that, my sweet tooth truly went away and it hasn't come back. And that was probably one of the most shocking changes to me, was just seeing going from having a sweet tooth, which the candida or the yeast was craving the sweets. That's why I was wanting them. But once we took care of it, the sweet tooth really seems to have gone away.
Yes, that's awesome that you noticed that and notice that it hasn't come back either. That can definitely be a big culprit for craving sweets. And we didn't have to do anything too crazy, right? We didn't have to do
Yeah,
any crazy
no.
eliminations. Yeah.
No, not at all. Not even, I don't think there were really any eliminations. It was just like a couple supplements to get that back in check. And I noticed it didn't take very long, really, to stop craving the sweets. So that was a crazy one. And from what I understood, then my body was able to start absorbing things differently once the candida was taken care of. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. The overall gut picture that we worked on shifting. So, along with the candida, we were supporting some normal bacteria in there to help support some improved digestion and absorption, or just improving how you're getting your nutrients out of your food overall. I think a really common recommendation when candida is present is to be really strict with sugar and carbs. But as you're hearing, for those of you listening, as you're hearing Sarah say, that doesn't have to be the route that you take. It can definitely be a little bit more holistic approach in using some help with some supplements, but we're definitely focusing on protein intake too as a whole, which can make a difference with what's happening with that candida as well. What do you think were a couple of the biggest changes that you made just nutrition wise once we started?
The biggest one was making sure I'm getting a lot of protein for breakfast. I started just making a practice of every single day having a few eggs scrambled and adding cottage cheese and maybe spinach to that. And then I also got a lot better at balancing things. So maybe having some oranges with that, or when I'd have an afternoon snack, I would try, if I'd have like a jerky stick or something, I try to add like a dried fruit to it. So trying to be more balanced, but then also trying to eat more regularly, not going with big gaps between my meals. Those were two of the bigger ones, I'd say. And then also getting minerals in, trying to keep up with the mineral mocktails and adding like electrolyte packets every once in a while too.
Awesome. Yeah. Boosting up those nutrients anywhere we can. And all of those changes can definitely just help your body feel safe, like eating more consistently and more balanced. It's going to help with energy creation and just having more energy on board to support all things fertility, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are awesome changes. What do you think some or one or two of the biggest changes were for like your lifestyle? Did you change anything with either exercise or sleep or anything like that?
I've always been pretty regular with getting exercise, going on runs, walks, but I tried to step that up a bit, going to the gym more often, a few times a week. Lifestyle wise, I was taking a lot more baths and trying to just relax in that way. And then my sleep schedule, I tried to keep it as regular as I could, just getting in bed relatively early and getting a good night's sleep. But taking the baths was really helpful before bedtime as well, just to kind of get into sleep mode. But yeah, those were kind of some of the lifestyle changes that I really focused on.
Awesome. More ways to send messages to your body that it's safe. It's safe enough to pour all of the resources into fertility that you need. And you definitely saw the benefits of that too. And you didn't do this alone either. How was your husband involved in changes?
He was really helpful and he was very open to making the changes himself. Just eating healthy at home, working out, getting any of the testing done. We did all the testing that was offered for him as well. And he was really open to doing those things, which was really appreciated. And he learned right along with me too. He would help find recipes and make things that would were good for both of us.
Awesome. I love to hear that. It definitely takes two to make this outcome happen and have the healthy baby. So it's always awesome to hear how supportive the male part of the fertility puzzle is
Mm-hmm.
too. Yes. How much time do you think you took, like on a weekly basis, to focus on some of the changes that you made initially? I know they can kind of become habit and routine, but do you feel like it was taking a lot of extra time to work on some of the changes initially?
I don't think it took too much time. I think I just kind of got my supplements organized. And then once I knew when I was to be taking those, then it just kind of became a habit. I got the pill boxes to help me remember and left those out. And then maybe I took some time looking at your recipes or trying to find other recipes, but I don't think it took a crazy amount of time trying to get in a new routine because we were already so open to making changes. So just jumping right into it felt very natural.
That's awesome. We like to hear that. I like to hear that. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to implement these changes because it should feel realistic and sustainable. And
Mm-hmm.
even if you're implementing new habits that, take a little bit different routine, it should feel natural pretty quickly. And routine, do you feel like you're still practicing like the nutrition and lifestyle habits during pregnancy?
Yeah, I think so. The first trimester was a little more difficult. Just I was feeling some of those normal symptoms like nauseous. I didn't have any food aversions, but it was just a lot harder to make some of the meals that I was preferring before I got pregnant. But once I got through that, at this point, it's just a habit. We buy the healthy food. We don't really we're not in the habit of stocking our house with things that are not going to really support us. But we live a little too. Like if we're on holiday or we have family over, we're not restricting ourselves at all. But yeah, I think now during pregnancy, I'm thinking about it a lot. I'm trying to make sure I'm eating healthy and getting the nutrients and the things that I need to support the baby.
Definitely. It's good to hear that it feels like a habit, and you should definitely not feel restricted or tied to a regimen that you don't feel like is flexible enough to enjoy yourselves during visiting others or holiday time or anything like that. So that's great to hear. That's what I work on a lot in my Master Your Fertility program, is trying to help people feel like they have a flexible plan that is very realistic for them, but also helps them reach their goals. So that can look a little bit different based on where you're starting, but eventually, like, it should feel routine, especially by the time that you are expecting, and you can continue a lot of those habits throughout pregnancy to support how you're feeling and how baby's doing throughout pregnancy, and definitely during postpartum time too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're getting closer and closer to meeting your baby girl, which is so exciting. How do you feel like your pregnancy has been as a whole?
It's been good. I've had the normal, like I said, first trimester feeling a little slow and nauseous, but overall I felt really great. Once I got my energy back into the second trimester, I've been able to exercise. I've been able to eat, whatever I'm. I guess I'm not like I've been able to eat like as much as I want or what I want and not feel like sick from it, I guess. I really do feel good. And I'm thankful too, going into my third trimester, that I still have energy and I feel active, and I want to keep up with that as long as I can.
That's awesome. Do you have any advice for other women that were maybe in a similar place to you before you started working with me?
Yeah, I think the advice I would give is to question. I guess if you're like I was in with an OB and at a fertility clinic, and I was trusting them, but I started to question things too, and that's where I found you. And I'm glad that I followed my gut in that case, because in the clinic, at a certain point, they were just telling me all we can do for you is IVF. But they were also telling me there was nothing wrong with my husband or me, or there at least no big barriers for why we weren't getting pregnant. And I just couldn't accept that quite yet. I wanted to see other things through. I knew there were other parts of my health that I could support, and I think my advice would be for people to like trust that and look into other options or get second opinions when possible.
I love that advice. Yeah, don't be afraid to question the direction that you're being encouraged to go by other providers, or if you're meeting kind of that unexplained infertility picture, as Sarah and her husband were, definitely trying to think about what other ways you can support your health prior to IVF. Reproductive technology is amazing. It's an amazing tool. But if we jump into it with other barriers, even if it's just our intuition telling us that there's something else going on, it can make a big difference to look into those a little bit deeper and support them prior to making that really big investment and big jump into something like IVF. For sure, it will help your outcomes tremendously if you do end up going down that road as well. Thankfully, Sarah did not have to go down that road. They ended up getting that BFP just a few months after. We were right at the end of your program,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was. And I did go into the program thinking, I'm thankful that IVF is an option. At the very least, I will hope to just feel better doing this program. And if IVF is the ultimate route we go down, then at least I'll be in a better position physically and mentally, having done your program, to then launch into IVF versus where I was at after nearly a year of taking the medications. I just was not in a good place to just jump right into something so intense.
Yeah, definitely not. And I'm so glad that you took that break and took a different, or invested in a different perspective, for sure. What would you tell other women or couples that are on the fence of investing in the Master Your Fertility program?
Well, kind of like how I said, at the very least you're just going to feel a lot better. And then if you have to take further steps with maybe a fertility clinic or other options, at least you're going into that being healthier and knowing that your body is ready to support a pregnancy. Yeah. Does that make sense? I think just if you're on the fence, I have never felt so good, truly. I was feeling healthy. I got my energy back. I wasn't having, and I've actually, I don't think I mentioned, but I cut coffee, and I have not needed it. I have natural energy that I get from just like food and lifestyle now, which has been crazy to think about because I used to drink a couple cups a day. I wasn't excessive in my coffee drinking, but truly I had natural, and I have natural energy now from just taking care of my body and getting it what it needs, specifically tailored to me, I guess.
That's such a good sign. Not needing caffeine and just having that natural energy is definitely a good sign that things are working well as far as energy production goes. And that's honestly a huge kind of question I ask myself with all of my couples, like what barriers are getting in the way of how their body is producing energy, because fertility is such an energy intensive process. So
Mm-hmm.
if you do find yourself like really relying on supplements, which like I'd consider caffeine kind of a supplement,
Mm-hmm.
think about why and what you might need to do to change those things. And there can be a big variety of reasons why. But I love those insights. So just, tune into your body. And that seems to be a common theme across all of my clients. Like, listen to your intuition. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, investing in you and your health and your partner's health can go so far, no matter how you end up conceiving, and can definitely support you throughout pregnancy and beyond. So I've loved chatting with you, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for everything. We're truly so grateful. Still surreal where we're at right now.
So excited for you guys, and it was an honor supporting you. So thank you for trusting me to be part of your support team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.